Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Down to Earth Astronomy. Once again we're playing Fractal Space, and this time we're taking a look at the Brawler, a very close range high damage ship from the USR. So here it is, and let's go ahead and have a look at the loadout. Now the main weapon on this Brawler is the Thumper. You can have it at the base version, you have it at an auto version and a blast version, and the difference between these is essentially you have 4 turrets, and in the standard version they will fire 2 shots each, so you'll have like 2 short bursts of damage, and these do a lot of damage if you get in close, not that effective at long range. Then you have the auto Thumper, or Thumper, I don't know how you should pronounce that, but anyway, it fires. It's more like a small machine gun, fires the shots individually. Which makes it easier to aim if you are at longer range. And then the final one, the blast one version, it fires all the shots as one, all 8 shots fired just at once. The benefit from using this is of course that you get, not of course, but you get a narrower spread, so you are more accurate with the shots. But again, you cannot use your shots to home in on the target the same way you could if you used any of the other 2. So this is more if you feel like you got the aim down, it's a better option. And since you often use this at very close range, I normally use this because you get the better accuracy. You could get more of the shots on target, and since you're so close, you should be able to hit your target. Talking about being close, I just want to jump down here to the Harpoon. The Harpoon is a bit like a missile. It's a homing missile that will hit a target at a range for up to 2.5 kilometers. It'll do a little bit of damage, nothing significant. But once you damage them with the Harpoon, you are able to use your Harpoon pull ability. And once you use your Harpoon pull ability, you can begin to wheel people in. So essentially you now have a string attached to them, and you can begin to pull them in towards you, which of course makes it a lot easier to get close to them and get that damage up with your main weapons here. And once you get them in close, you have an option of 3 different abilities. You can have a concussive pulse, which both disable their flight model, so it slows them down a little bit, and also disables the ability to use utilities. So utilities would be like my Harpoon, or all of these actually, anything that's not weapons. And it lasts for 10 seconds with a 60-second cooldown. Then you have a slow pulse that only slows people down, same duration. And then you have the ability suppression that only suppresses the abilities, but they have a slightly longer duration. So you have a 10-second where you both slow and disable their abilities to use utilities. You can slow them for 10 seconds, or you can remove their utilities for 14 seconds. And the last thing you have, I should say, is, which one is it? I think it's this one. Yeah, this pulse is powerful enough to cause damage to fighters and drones, so you can use this to disable drones as well. But you also have the Brawler fighters, which are essentially fighters that are designed to take down enemy bombers and drones. So that's why I think this ability is a bit redundant, not as good as the others, because you already have the fighters that you can use to take down enemy fighters and drones. These drones can also do damage to the ships, but they'll have a hard time getting through the armor, so they won't do that much damage. But that's pretty much the abilities. Let's go ahead and have a look at some gameplay and see how this performs in some combat. But before we do that, I just want to ask you to subscribe to the channel. Click the subscribe button here on screen. That way you know once I upload another Fractal Space video in the future. But let's go ahead and have a look at some combat.
The word is go.
And we are go. So initially, right off the bat, I'm jumping to beta, just because I want to try and spread out the team. We already have 2 people at each sector, so I decided to go to beta. No, you only have 1 at alpha. Oh, anyway. But I went to beta here, and I begin to move forward because we really want to get in close and personal with people before they get a chance to do significant amount of damage. So to try and avoid being spotted, I try to use this rock as cover, so I can sneak up on people. And right now we have 2 enemy ships spotted. And I spot him there, so I probably got spotted as well. So I decided time for me to move in. The enemy Reaper here is already taking heavy damage from my team, and you see me shoot the Harpoon there, and that's a hit. Now you see I have him Harpoon, and I begin to pull him in. And as we pull in, we open up with our main weapons, and he is quickly taken down. Now that's an enemy Brawler here, and as we talked about in the hangar, this ship can do a lot of damage at close range. It looks like he is occupied somewhere else, so I try to get in very close to him, so I can get that damage in, because at range the thing does not do a lot of damage. And as you can see here, as I get in very close, you can really begin to do some decent amount of damage. And there we go, and he's down. So that was, oh, there's another one. I thought we already cleared the section. He gets out to a decent distance here, and you can see my shots do next to no damage out at this range. So I really need to close the distance here if I want to do any significant amount of damage to him. So I get in under him, and he tries to get away, but he doesn't get enough distance to reduce my damage. I have a bit of a hard time trying to hit him here because he's moving so much, and especially when he's above you, it can be difficult to hit. But here you can really see again, once we get in close and personal, you can do a lot of damage in this ship. So there's an enemy Reaper again. He respawned. Oh, he gets my armor. I really need to get that side away from him, and I really want to try to avoid getting outside of his avoid staying inside that cone of death that he has in front of you, where he just does an insane amount of damage. Luckily I get above him, and I try to get around behind him, because his weapons is not that very effective on the side or on the rear. So once we're in here behind him, we can just slowly begin to shoot away at him. I get disabled, probably by the enemy Brawler who respawned, and he gets me down. And there you can see, yeah, it was the enemy Brawler. But anyway, we managed to get a few ships down, and now I have a bit of a time looking around, see what the rest of my team is doing, before we respawn here in a bit. When I play the Brawler, I often like to take the offensive upgrade, simply because if you can go in and just overmatch the damage, just out-damage them outright, I think that's it's a very good tactic. You could go for a defensive, so you could survive a bit longer. Now I jump in here, I notice there's a lot of enemy ships in here. I think almost all of them are in here, maybe at least 4 of them are in here. So I start off my point defense, trying to reduce the damage from incoming missiles. Try to get in cover beneath this rock to reduce the incoming damage, because I want to get out of here. I don't want to fight 4 enemy ships at once. So this would be a good time to fall back. So I fall back to the home base. We still have 3 minutes until the gamma sector unlocks. I want to go in and get some repairs now. Try to get my ship ready for a battle, because in a very few seconds the space is going to be overrun with enemies. And I really want to get as much hit points to my ship as I can, and then get out to the spawn point so I'm as close to them as possible once they jump in. So they captured the forward station. I managed to get my ship fully repaired, and now I'm just moving out here to the jump-in point just to be ready to attack them as soon as they land. There's a Sentinel here. I try to launch the Harpoon at him, and I get him. Sentinel's a very fast ship, and I really want to try and avoid him getting into the cap circle. He uses his boots to try and get away, but we still have a Harpoon. So we're able to wheel him in nice and slow. I think it expired now. Yeah, it does. And he manages to get away. Now it's not effective for me to keep shooting at that Sentinel because he's so far away, so I try to switch to a target that's a bit closer. But with all those enemy ships coming in, we eventually get killed again by the enemy Brawler. But I think we managed to hold the enemies off for long enough for our team to get in and help defend the base without any loss of capture points as of yet. And that's pretty much it. The home base is now clear of enemies, but they still have jump access. So at this point I think, okay, it looks like there are at least 2 ships that are staying behind. Now 1 ship staying behind, so I think it's probably okay for me to go to Alpha and begin working my way through that sector. Unfortunately, the last ship in our base decided to jump out as well before we managed to recapture the forward station. That of course means that our base is now vulnerable to attack, and no one is currently looking if there is any enemies in the base. We have 60 seconds until the gamma sector unlocks, and that's when we get the warning that the base is under attack. And this is what I feared, that people would jump out too early before we captured the forward station and allowed them to go in and get another attack on the station. So I jump in, we see it's the Sentinel. I want to get in very close to him as fast as possible. I get disabled, so probably by the enemy Brawler, and we open up on the Sentinel. I managed to get I think I managed to get a Harpoon in, or no, maybe not. Doesn't look like I have a Harpoon in him, but we can get in and we get some decent damage in. He only managed to cap 13% of the base, which is not too bad, and we now have both our forward stations and the base is clear, and we have just arrived at the nick of time before gamma sector unlocks. We spot an enemy Colossus who was already damaged when we got in. So I try to get him close. I begin just to use that damage. There you go, almost 6,000 damage there in a very short amount of time. Then we see an enemy Reaper who was facing right towards us, which could have been very, very dangerous. So I try to get around the side of him because I don't want to be sitting there in front of him. And sitting at this range, this is really where the Brawler is comfortable. But look at that damage, we're almost doing 1,000 damage at each volley. And we use a 1 second cooldown. This is a very, very high amount of damage. And again, we have a Sentinel here in front of us. I try to get in beneath him. I get the Harpoon in. You can see that the faint glow that we have between our ships. So begin to wheel him in, get him in close, get that damage going. And the Sentinel does not have a lot of hit points, so you can very quickly get him down, and there he goes. Sentinel is dead. And we now managed to cap the gamma sector. So I decide to move back to Alpha. I've taken a fair amount of damage. I'm at about half health. So I decide to go for the repair, and especially now when you have the bonus from the gamma sector, because it only lasts for as long as you stay alive. So if you die, you lose the bonus from the gamma sector. So I really want to get my ship repaired here, get some more hit points before I move out. I get the upgrade, I get my ship fully repaired, and now I'm ready to move out together with a friendly Reaper. Now the Brawler and a Reaper is a very good combination. The Brawler can keep the ship locked at a good range, where the Reaper is a more medium range ship. It want to keep a bit of a distance to its enemies. So ideally what we should do now is I should try to go down and capture the enemy Reaper to prevent him from getting close to our Reaper. And ideally with the Harpoon I can also turn his ship around to avoid his incoming damage. I managed to capture him, get him in. Our friend Reaper got a good attack in with his laser weapon, stripping off his armor. And even though the enemy Reaper desperately tries to escape, we managed to get him down. Now here I get attacked by an enemy Brawler. Look, I already took damage right off the bat when I had damage taken when we started. But I have the bonus from the gamma sector, and I have my Reaper as backup, and you can see how deadly this combo is. If you have a Brawler that can sit in front of the Reaper, just pulling people in, taking the brunt of the damage, and having the Reaper in the background where you can comfortably keep his front towards the enemies, that's a really, really strong combination. So a bit of a break in the battle here. I capture one of the mining stations, and we move towards the next mining station. Our team is fairly heavily engaged. We were 2-on-2, now we are 1-on-2 at the beta area. No, we're actually still 2-on-2, and now we're actually 2-on-1. So looks like we're okay on this sector actually. We just spotted an enemy ship in this sector. I didn't manage to see who it was. Oh, it's the enemy Reaper again. I decided just to go for a quick cap from on the mining station, and he managed to get his weapons in and strip my armor. So I used this small rock to get some cover between me and the enemy Reaper. And now I spot a lot of enemy ships here. So I decided to, I'm alone right now, so I decided just to move in for the Brawler that was the closest ship, try to get as much damage in, hoping I can get him down before the enemies manage to kill me. He's almost down, I'm on very low health, and I do manage to get him down before the enemy Colossus. Finally, I think he gets me down a bit here. I'm almost dead, 700 hit points, and I get disabled, and there we go. I think it was the Reaper who got the final blow on me there. Yeah, and it was. So again, against many enemies, the Brawler doesn't fare too well because you really have to move around, stay close to enemies. But if your enemies are spread out, you can have a really hard time. Doing a significant amount of damage because you have to spend time moving between enemies. But as long as you're on one-on-one, or at least part of a pack, and you can stay close to a single enemy, this ship does very, very well, and especially think it does well against heavily armored ship like the Colossus, where you can just sit close to them and just out-damage them straight out and just take them down. What we see here is there's a heavy fighting at the enemy forward station. On the other side, I need to go in there and try and help. We still have 2 minutes until Gamma Sector unlocks again. And at this point, I think I make a little bit of a misplay. We actually have captured the forward station at this point, but I didn't realize that at the time until they actually managed to recap it. So at this moment, right, I would actually have jump access, I think, to the enemy base. I try to zoom in, try to get an idea of what's going on. And we see our friendly Paragon here taking a lot of damage. He's almost down right now. He's trying to get the Brawler down, the enemy Brawler, but unfortunately he wasn't able to. So now they managed to secure the home base. I could have jumped in. A shame that I didn't realize that, because that could have been a very quick cap. We've gotten quite a few cap points here. So I decided to use my use this rock for cover, because I know there's at least 4 enemy ships in here, and I don't want to be fighting all of them, as we talked about. When you need to move between enemies, they can take you down fairly quickly, and the Brawler doesn't have that many hit points. It has 12,500, which is decent, but against many enemies you can get taken down fairly quickly. So we have 1 minute until the Gamma Sector unlocks, and I decide, okay, doesn't look like there's any support coming in here anytime soon, so I jump out. I jump back to home base, and I get ready to jump into to the Gamma Sector. I could have jumped straight for the Gamma Sector, but I guess I just wanted that little bit of extra time to decide what would be the right solution to do. So we jump in just as at least 2 enemy ships jumped in as well. It's the enemy Brawler, and was that the Sentinel that jumped in as well? I'm not really sure. And now we have all 5 enemy ships are in here now. Trying to use the station to shield myself from some of the incoming damage, while this Brawler unfortunately takes down a friendly Sentinel. I get him down, and that's when Gamma 2 unlocks. Right now they are having the upper hand. They have more people camping. We have people jumping out right now. That's not really the right time to jump out, not when you're that low health and you have that many enemies in close. So try to clear up the station so I can get some damage in on this enemy Reaper. He's a bit shielded by our friendly Paragon, sorry. But together with the Paragon we do get him down, and I now begin to focus on the Colossus. And again, I really like how you can really just punish these big ships once you get in close. Try to get in over and above him, just to increase the amount of damage that I do. And again, once you're allowed to just sit here, we can do a very, very significant amount of damage. We're doing over 1,000 damage per hit. I think almost 1,200 damage each second. That's a lot of damage. you can really quickly take down these big ships. We have a sentinel here, and he's just sitting still. I decided to use that to my advantage and get a few good bursts into him. For some reason he's not running away. He really should be right now, because he is going to die very, very soon. And we get him down. Now, while all this has been going on, we managed to unlock jump access from the Alpha sector to the enemy base. So I jump in, trying to help with the capping. Hopefully we can get inside the cap area as fast as possible. The enemy Reaper, for some reason, is staying out at range. I don't know why he's not moving inside the bubble. I'm trying to get some distance to the enemy Brawler, because right now I'm not interested in taking him down. I just want to stay alive for as long as possible. And I spot 2 enemy ships up ahead. An enemy Reaper, and I try to harpoon one of them, because right now we're capping very, very slowly. If we can get a ship down, we can increase the rate at which we're capping. And since this guy doesn't have that much hit points, I figured I could take him down fairly quickly. I do get him down, but I begin to take a lot of damage. That looks like that is the Colossus with his flak cannons. So I begin to move around him, trying to get as much damage in as possible. At this point, I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to survive this. Not with the station firing at me as well. But I want to get as much damage in to the Colossus as possible before I go down. He gets me down, and now we have to wait another minute before we respawn. But we don't have to, because luckily we did manage to cap the base there. I didn't even see that. That was a very quick cap at the end there. But again, I think this really shows that if you can get your Brawler in close and personal to the enemies, you can really do a significant amount of damage. But its weak side is it doesn't have that much armor, and if you're facing multiple enemies, you can very quickly get in a very, very bad situation. I hope you liked this video. If you did, click the subscribe button here on the screen. Like the video down below, and that way you will know once I upload another Fractal Space video in the future. Now, this has been Down to Earth Astronomy. Thanks a lot for watching, and until next time, I will see you in space.